Hello, my name is George Addy. 11 years ago, my son Ryan Addy met this girl, Sarah Bates. They got married, we got a new daughter, and it united two families together. And we got to know these families, the Bates, and they were as crazy as we were. And so we got along really well. Today we're going to celebrate a life. Today is a day that we get to talk about the good things. We're going to cry together. We're going to laugh together, mourn together. But it's what we do in a time like this. Today is a testament of a man who had a life well lived. That is us, what we're doing here today. Some of the fun stuff that I remember with Lyle and Shelley is they would come by our house in the pontoon boat. Man, Lyle could park that big monster boat. I don't know how he did it, but he could bring that thing up to the dock, not bang into the dock. He knew how to do these things. He also knew how to retrofit his boat. The big slide off the back, I think that came with the boat, but that wasn't enough because he had to add a diving board off the side of the boat just to make sure we had more fun. They would come by and, one time we're like, let's go out on the boat. So we're putting around on the lake on the pontoon boat, having a good time. And Shelley goes, I want to go water skiing. And I'm like, you don't have a swimsuit on. But she went water skiing anyway, jeans and all. And Lyle's like, let's do it. They were a great couple, and they were fun to be with. It's part of who they were, that they would throw off the norms and let's say, let's just put this away, and we're going to have a lot of fun anyway. Lyle could fix anything. When something's wrong with my boat, Ryan would be like, we'll call Lyle, he'll know. And Lyle told me what to do, and it was kind of an easy fix. Sometimes it was hard to get in his mind there. But he just knew stuff. The guy was just a brain, and he could fix anything. And like I said, today we are going to talk about Lyle and how he has blessed our lives and what he has done in our lives. They have given us some great memories, and today we get to honor the life of a man who lived a life well. Let's stand and pray. Father, we thank you for your love for us. Not only did you give us your son, but you gave us relationships that are neatly, fitly joined together. And today we get to celebrate Lyle and what he means to us and how his life impacted ours. As we go through these memories, we honor you and we honor the life that you had given Lyle. We give you the praise and glory in your name. Amen. You may be seated. Rachel is going to come up and sing a song.
My name is Rachel Gerke, and I am the second oldest of the 6 kids to Lyle and Shelley. Thank you for coming today. It would have meant a lot to my dad that all of you were here. He was happiest with his friends and with his family. In fact, my dad would travel far and wide to be with us. I remember times that we were camping in the mountains and Mom and Dad would drive all the way to a camp spot just to spend time around the fire. Or in Ilwaco, we'd be fishing and they would, let's go fishing. And we go down there and they'd bring their big old boat. Or even across the state when we lived in Spokane. They came and visited us and just to spend time with us. And he just loved us so very much. smile, hug, a kiss on the cheek is all that she reveals. I'd like to right that wrong here in this little song. Thank you for shaping my life. Thank you for teaching me all you could. You are no ordinary man. You made me everything I am. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for showing me the way. Thank you for being there when I needed you. Thank you for every single day. Now I've been blessed with kids of my own, got my own bedtime stories to tell. If I could raise them half as well as you raised me, guess I'd be doing pretty well. Thank you for your guiding hand. Thank you for making my dreams come true. You're an extraordinary man, and I hope you're as proud of me as I am proud of you. Thank you for giving me life. Thank you for showing me good from bad. Thank you for being my dad. Even though the years drift away, I never took the time just to say I love you and always have. Thank you for being my dad. Thank you for being our dad. Next, we're going to have a recording from my mom, Shelley Bates, and her memories.
I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Philippians 4:13. I am broken right now. I am shattered. I have lost my very best friend and I am crushed. I am broken and I miss him so horribly. There are people who give speeches and there are people who feel feelings, and I am one of those people who feel all the feelings of the people in the room. I feel your grief. Everyone in this room's grief. So even though I wish I could talk in person, I cannot. Instead, we have made these videos. Lyle was my very best friend. We balanced each other out. I was the one who was always getting us into trouble, and he was the one who was always getting us out. I had the idea, and he would make it happen, over and over and over again. We were partners in everything we did. Always through 40 years, we had a lot of joys and a few disappointments, but we were always there for each other. If you saw me, you saw him. And if you saw him, then you would see me. He has given me so many lifelong gifts that I will always treasure. The gift of encouraging me with my creativity. I will continue painting for him. The gift of teaching me to be a businesswoman. I will continue to make money the best that I can. The gift of hard work that has been instilled in me and all of our children. And I can see the incredible work ethic in all of us. The gift of loving me, even though at times I was very unlovable. I will remember his love and try my hardest to love like he did. He could articulate it in ways I only wish I could. He always told me how much he loved me, and I knew it was true. This was the best gift of all, his incredible gift of love. Together we traveled the world. I am going to miss my buddy. Lyle had bipolar disorder. Bipolar disorder did not define Lyle, but it was a big part of his life. It gave him the superhuman ability to work nonstop and to focus on the task at hand, whether it be working or creating his brilliant inventions, which may someday change the world. It gave him the energy to help anyone, anytime, even when he was extremely busy with other things. It gave his heart the power to love us to the extreme. Bipolar disorder wasn't Lyle. Lyle was just the one chosen to be given it, and it made him an incredible man who we all loved. He was a mighty warrior of God, and there have been many times in our life that he had the strength to go out to battle for our family. I will always honor, respect, and cherish every moment. I have a lifetime of memories and gifts, and I wouldn't trade that life we shared for anything. God doesn't make mistakes, ever. He had a plan. He has a plan. I'm going to be okay. I might not know the plan right now, but someday I will. One day I will be whole again. I will be strong again. The pieces will be put together, and I will walk straight again. In the meantime, I will honor him, I will respect him, and I will continue to love him in all that I do. I am so very thankful for every moment I got to spend with this brilliant, lovable, kind, and humble man. Lyle, I will love and miss you always and forever.
Hi.
That was beautiful. Sarah Heidi has a poem that she'll read.
This is a poem for my dad. It's called The Dash. I read about a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on his tombstone from beginning to the end. He noted first came the date of his birth and spoke with the following date with tears, but said what mattered most of all was that dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time that he spent alive on earth, and that only those who loved him know what that little dash is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the clothes, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left. You could be at mid-dash range. If we could just slow down enough to consider what's true and real, and always understand the way that others feel, and be less quick to anger and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that this special dash might only last a while. So when your eulogy's being read, with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say and how you spent your dash? Please enjoy this video of my dad's dash.
No more monkeys jumping on the bed.
Loving can hurt. Loving can hurt sometimes, but it's the only thing that I know. When it gets hard, you know it can get hard sometimes. It is the only thing that makes us feel alive. We keep this love in a photograph. We made create these memories for ourselves, where our eyes are never closing, our hearts are never broken, and time's forever frozen still. So you can keep me inside the pocket of your ripped jeans, holding me closer till our eyes meet, and you won't ever be alone. Wait for me to come home. Loving can heal, loving can mend your soul, and it's the only thing that I know. I swear it will get easier. Remember that with every piece of you. Lately I've been noticing I say the same things he used to say, and I even find myself acting the very same way. I tap my fingers on the table to the rhythm in my soul, and I jingle the car keys when I'm ready to go. When I look in the mirror, he's right there in my eyes, staring back at me, and I realize the older I get, the more I can see how much he loved my mother and my brother and me, and he did the best that he could, and I only hope when I have my own family that every day I see a little more of my father and me. Times I thought he was being just a little bit hard on me, but now I understand he was making me become the man he knew that I could be. In everything he ever did, he always did with love, and I'm proud today to say I'm his son. When somebody says, I hope I get to meet your dad, I just smile and say, you already have. The older I get, the more I can see how much he loved my mother and my brother and me, and he did the best that he could, and I only hope when I have my own family that every day I see a little more of my father in me. He's in my eyes, my heart, my soul, my hands, my pride. And when I feel alone and I think I can't go on, I hear him saying, son, you'll be alright. Everything is gonna be alright. Yes, it is. The older I get, the more I can see that he loved my mother and my brother and me, and he did the best that he could, and I only hope when I have my own family every day I see, oh, I hope I see, I hope every day I see a little more of my father and me.
Came by today to see you. Oh, I had to let you know. If I knew the last time that I held you was the last has kept me awake nights wondering. I lie in the dark just asking why. I've always been told you won't be called home until it's your time. I guess heaven was needing a hero, somebody just like you, brave enough to stand up for what you believe and follow it through. When I try to make it make sense in my mind, the only conclusion I come to is that heaven was needing a hero like you. I remember the last time I saw you. Oh, you held your head up proud. I laughed inside when I saw how you were standing out in the crowd. You're such a part of who I am. Now that part will just be void. No matter how much I need you now, heaven needed you more. 'Cause heaven was needing a hero, somebody just like you, brave enough to stand up for what you believe and follow it through. When I try to make it make sense in my mind, the only conclusion I come to is that heaven was needing a hero like you. Yes, heaven was needing a hero, and that's you.
That deserves a clap. That was beautiful. Now we're going to hear a sermon, audio recording from Michaela.
Hi all, it's me, Michaela. Thank you all so much for being here today. It means so much to me and my family. Today, you're going to see other people take the stage to tell you all about my dad, Lyle Dean Bates. These people are far better communicators than I can be. So I'll just talk to you here, like this. And while others are going to share memories, I'm going to share my plea. I plead with you today that you will not judge my dad too harshly. I plead that you will see past his moment of weakness into his strong and beautiful, tenacious soul. See, while bipolar disorder took my dad, that is not who he was. nor how he lived his life. My father lived his life with love, kindness, and respect. You will hear today the many things my dad was. He was a husband, a friend, a son, but to me and my sisters, the most important thing he was our dad. He could solve any problem. He was our personal superhero. But even Superman has a weakness, doesn't he? I wanted to make sure today that you know that if you are struggling, if you are sad and lonely, know that you are loved immensely, that you are not weak, and it's okay. We love you and accept you, and please let us help you. Know that our best tool for coping is the support of other people. So please, please, give more love, more kindness, more support. And don't be mad at my dad, because we aren't. He left us with the knowledge that we are loved immensely.
And now we're going to have Brianna come and read her speech.
Hi, I'm Brianna. I am Lyle's fourth born. I was his bookkeeper, his personal assistant, and his friend. Sorry. My dad was a brilliant man. He had ideas for everything, and if my dad couldn't fix it, it couldn't be fixed. He was innovative, strategic, and a problem solver. He was a jack of all trades and so effortlessly did alone what many couldn't begin to figure out how to do together. He filled a lot of roles, but I think the one he'd be most proud of was that he was our teacher. He taught us so many life lessons that made me and my family the people that we are today, and I will never forget the things that he instilled in us. He taught me by example what it means to be selfless. My dad would give 110% at the drop of a hat to help someone else out, or spend hours problem solving with you on a problem that wasn't even his. That's just who he was. It made him happy to help. My dad also taught perseverance and unwavering devotion to his dreams, no matter how reachable they may have seemed. He showed us that you may have 1,000 ideas that don't work out, but that's okay, because if you worked hard enough and stuck with it, that one that did would be worth it all. He taught us to work hard for what we wanted and not let anyone take that away or do it for you. He was a dreamer and showed us how to look for opportunities where no one else was even looking. He was so smart and taught us to think outside of the box. He taught us to question everything, just for the purpose of knowledge and for the possibility that, just maybe, you may need that answer for a question that's not yet even been asked. He taught me to ask the questions, remember the answers, and analyze the reasoning of every situation, so you have that to pull from your bag of tricks at any given moment. And my dad really instilled the importance of doing the right thing, even when no one else noticed. He really believed that doing right when everyone else was fighting dirty gave you the upper hand in life, even if just for your own integrity and well-being of your soul. One of the things in myself that I see my dad in most is my I can fix that myself attitude. He was a jimmy rigging master. There was nothing that zip ties, duct tape, and a little creativity couldn't fix. I think it's why he was able to do so much on his own. He got so much satisfaction from identifying a problem, thinking up his own creative solution, and fixing it himself. This is one of the skills that I treasure in myself. I think the best thing that my dad taught me, though, is unconditional belief in myself. He showed me that there's nothing that I am not capable of doing, fixing, or creating for myself. Regardless of the circumstances or what I tell myself I can't do, he believed in me. He truly was my biggest fan, and he showed me that even when I fail, failure is an opportunity to learn, grow stronger, and more resilient than ever. Plus, it makes a great comeback story. Although it's easy to focus on the whys of what happened and let grief and sadness take over, I don't think that's what he would have wanted. He left behind an incredible legacy and a fervor for a better life, and I think he would want us all to grow and fight and live life to its fullest. He's a part of every single person who knew and loved him. He will live forever in our joy of a new idea or the satisfaction of fixing something ourselves. I will miss my dad every single day, and I'll always wish that I could just have one more day with him. But I know that he's always there. He's gonna be there in his cowboy hat with a cigar in one hand and a raised glass of Johnny Walker Blue in the other, smiling with that proud Lyle smile every time I find my own solution to something that seemed impossible, including coming up here. I may no longer get to see my dad, but I know that he's always there. My dad was always trying to come up with the next cool catchphrase. And although it pains me to say this, he was such a pharmaceutical dude. Just this one time, for you, Dad, we made that a thing.
And now we'll have Rick come up and give his speech, Rachel's husband.
My name is Rick Gerke. I'm one of the son-in-laws that I've known Lyle for a little over 16, almost 17 years. He took a special spot in my heart after my dad had passed away and my brother passed away. And when I wrote below here, hunting, fishing, loving every day, there's a song about that. Knowledgeable, wise, non-judgmental, all these different traits kind of sum together who he was: father-in-law, mentor, entrepreneur, and friend. So my wife and I got married 15 years ago. He was at the wedding, and him and when I asked my wife to marry her, and I actually asked Lyle and Shelley twice because I didn't know if there was a statute of limitations that went on with that sort of stuff. So I just wanted to do the right thing, and that's what I did. And so he was really happy that I asked, and it was good. One of the things I really loved, and a lot of the brother-in-laws can certainly attest to this, is just going on different family trips, going places. And we went to Lake Cushman a lot, and we did some bulldozing down there. Oh, thank you. I have a good voice, and it'll carry. Lake Cushman and Christmas parties, boating excursions, traveling all over the state and doing a lot of just wild and crazy things. And all the other brother-in-laws can certainly attest to that. At their lake house in Lake Tapps, a lot of memories were made down there at just, good wholesome fires at night and just talking about politics and just silly stuff. We went on vacations to Idaho and Hawaii and anywhere in between. Now what you see there is something I would never normally do. And Lyle talked me into it, and I joined a parade, and I was a hippie And that's not usually my character, but he talked me into it. And below that is certainly his brother and Lyle helping me adjust my bra for another party we had at my house. And that was a lot of fun. And you know, I'm certainly sure that a lot of other brother-in-laws can attest. Cannons and just other crazy things that we've done over the years. He was there for my daughter in her kindergarten graduation, teaching my son how to drive a jet ski and of course, my son how to drive a boat. And those are really cool memories, and they talk about that a lot. But what I want to also talk to you about is two crazy stories. One's kind of death-defying, and the other one is just plain Jane bizarre. So, first one I want to start out with is in Ilwaco. My wife had mentioned Ilwaco. And for those of you who don't know where Ilwaco is, it's by the coast. And it's at the mouth of the Columbia River in Bowie 10. And several years ago, when my daughter was still, when my wife was pregnant with Heidi, we decided to go down there. And that was probably my most memorial fishing trip, only because the day before we had gone fishing with a charter boat with my niece, Rachel, and we were just bragging up to Lyle, hey, we caught all these fish. You got to come down here. The fishing's hot. You're going to love it. And that's all it took for Lyle. So we got him hook, line, and sinker. So we went back out the very next day, and it was so much fun. My wife and I barely had enough time to get changed and take a shower and throw the fish in the freezer and go back out again. And so that next day we were out there out on the water, on the bar. This is where it was kind of strange. You know, my poor wife, she was pregnant obviously with Heidi and stuck in the cuddy cabin down below and just bouncing around like crazy over the bar. And Lyle, we heard her screaming and we felt so bad. And I think that's probably why my daughter's so hyper, is because of that particular incident. But what was strange and bizarre about this trip wasn't necessarily just a fishing trip. It was the fact that when we went fishing out there, interestingly enough, we were about an hour after crossing the bar. We did really, really well. And we got tired because Rachel and I had been out the day before fishing a lot, and Lyle, he was pretty pooped too. And I stuck that fishing pole inside. He stuck his fishing pole inside the steering wheel, and he hung on to it. He was starting to kind of fall asleep, and Rachel and I were passed out anyways. And sure enough, for whatever reason, the way as God would have it, the way the waves were, the moon, whatever, the fishing pole ejected out of that spot. He caught a big fish, right? Gone it went, fishing pole and everything, and that was Grandpa Walton's, and he felt so bad about that. Well, not so bad, but 5 minutes later, we're out fishing again, so we just kept going. And the interesting thing was, this is where it's really strange, he caught that same fish and fishing pole again. We brought it back to the boat, and as we were reaching to get it, that line snapped, and then there it was. So that was pretty crazy. We talk about that as oddball things in fishing trips, and that was probably one of the craziest. And I'll tell you one more quick story before I leave here. Grandpa Walton and Dad, Lyle, myself, we were out fishing in a place called CQ. And last week we had some big, thick fog. And you probably noticed that it was a lot thicker down in that neck of the woods up north. And so we were just fishing and having a good time. We were roughly about mid-morning, almost limited out. We want to call it a day for now. And we're heading back. This is back in the old days when we had navigation, not like we have now in boats, but we have the old waypoint system. Well, Grandpa Walton I have the word Mr. Magoo on there. There's a reason for that. So we're driving down our boat, Lyle's snoring, and I'm in the back, kind of just, whatever, just picking my nose or something, and we're cruising through. And I'm looking out maybe about 150 feet in front of us, and we see these white crashing waves. I'm going, this doesn't look right. I used to have a boat. I'm going, something's not right here. So I go, Lyle, what's going on? I'm looking at Grandpa, we're looking at the waves. And, of course, at that point, Mr. Magoo, which is, I love him very dearly, my Grandpa Walton, his eyes were literally, his glasses were just caked with the fog, and he couldn't see. So he was just cruising like this, following his navigation, heading right straight to a place called Slip Point. And boy, I thought we were going to be a goner. I said, land ho, and Lyle grabs that steering wheel, wakes up, gets us out of there, and I tell you what, he saved our life, and it was really cool. And so I got a lot of other stories, but I won't let other folks go in there. But that was one of the coolest memories I could think of for a long time. What me and Lyle we did together. That was both bizarre and death-defying. So thank you.
And now we have an audio recording of Sarah Eide.
Hi, my name is Sarah, and I'm my dad's third born. My dad, he loved me so much. He adored my kids, Berkeley and Cosette, and he was one of my husband's very best friends. He was a lot of things to a lot of people, but to me, he will always be that cowboy hat wearing man, always listening to Chicago, Boston, and Kenny G, which sometimes was accompanied by spontaneous air guitar dancing and telling me over and over again that this is what real music is. Having whiskey and cigars to celebrate anything, even though I would assure him that this was the most disgusting thing ever, and he would say, "Oh, but not this kind." And yes, it always was. Ocean shores and how he slowly roasted marshmallows, more perfect than anyone I have ever known. Lake Cushman camping, playing in our treehouse and building it together. Breakfasts where we got biscuits and gravy together. His favorite candy, which was Necco's. Our Cancun vacation, where I undoubtedly saw the best karaoke rendition of one of his favorite songs, Saturday in the Park, where he put on such a great show and even spun the mic and danced. I told him afterwards, "Dad, seriously, where has this gift been hiding all of my life?" I have so many great memories of my dad, which I will cherish forever. I can even hear the little phrases that he used to say. Most of all, I can remember how very much he loved us all. Dad was always there no matter what, helping you figure out any problem you had. I knew that I could always call my dad no matter what, and he would help me with anything. I remember when I was in 6th grade, him and I were laying in the grass together looking up at the clouds. I told him all of the pictures that I could see in the clouds, and he would laugh in amazement and then tell me what he saw as well. He said, "Sarah, don't ever lose this. Life gets different when you get older, but if you can hold on to this creative childness, that I would be great." My dad was super creative, and I happily got that skill from him. People often laugh at how I fix things sometimes, but I can think quick and I can figure it out. It's just not anything that's taught in a book. It was taught to me by him. My dad was so many things that I could never even begin to share it all. But like a song that Keith Urban sang, Song for Dad says, "The older I get, the more I can see a little bit of my father in me. I'm proud today to say that I'm your daughter, and when somebody says, 'I hope I get to meet your dad someday,' I'll smile and I'll get to say that you already have. My dad will always be with me in my heart and in so much of who I am. I will always look at the clouds and see what I can find. I will always love you. I will always miss you, but I know we're all going to be okay. Thank you, Dad, for being you. I love you."
And now we'll have Lyle's brother, Brad Bates.
I'm a bit taller. first of all, I want to thank you, Shelley and family, for this opportunity. It's a real honor, and so I'll be forever grateful. Thank you. Well, here we were, two brothers born a couple of years apart, but you'd never know it. Lyle tried to outdo me every chance he got. Just the way he was. I didn't understand how serious my brother was. Just to give you an idea of what I was up against, at the age of 3, he and Dad were playing a game. Who plays a game with their dad at 3? Lyle. Dad won. And Lyle thought Dad cheated. He punched my dad right in the face and gave him a bloody nose. My dad recoiled back in shock, and after he figured out why Lyle hit him, he just laughed about the whole incident. Another time, he and I were racing motorcycles around the house, and because his legs were too short to sit and ride, he stood up. These were Honda 50s. We used to call them toilet seat Hondas because it looked like a big toilet seat, but he stood on that thing. And so with the throttle wide open, away we went. Just before the finish of the final corner, he came around that corner sideways, giving it all he could. We were almost to the line when he hit a slick spot, and the bike took a sharp left, just missing the back of me, and it slammed right into the side of our house, throwing him against the house and jamming the front forks and wheel back against the engine. Lyle shrugged it off and said, "I'll beat you next time." And you know, my brother had an extreme competitive side that I was starting to understand, and it took me a long time to understand that. On a different occasion, I came home from work, and there was a sheriff parked at the house. I opened the door, and there was my dad and the sheriff staring right at me. My dad said, "Son, the sheriff would like to have a word with you." And I thought, me? What did I do? So the officer said, "We got a call from a witness that said your car was spotted downtown and you were spraying people with something, and we want to know what it is." I said, "Wait a minute. I was at work nowhere near downtown." So I asked the officer, "Are you sure you have the right car?" The officer said, "Well, is this your car?" And he showed me. And I said, "Oh no, that's my other car." About that time, Lyle showed up in the other car. And when he opened the door, he had that uh-oh look on his face, as only Lyle could do. And turns out he and his buddies had put sugar water in a fire extinguisher and was spraying people and speeding away. The officer let him go with a warning, and for that we had a sigh of relief and then had a good laugh out of it. And then I was in pre-marriage class, and something caught my eye. I looked out the church window, and I saw someone doing a huge, huge burnout. I mean, you couldn't even see what it was. The car was, it was completely engulfed in smoke. Then a car came shooting out of the smoke, and to my shock and disbelief, it was my car. And guess who was driving it? Yeah, you guessed it, Lyle. My brother had a humorous side. Thank you, Lyle, for all the many memories you've given me. And you've been instrumental. You've been instrumental in my life because you showed me what determination looked like, and you had grit. You always found a way to overcome adversity in spite of unsurmountable odds. You're a winner in my book, Lyle, and that's how it'll stay. Rest in peace.
And now we have a audio recording of Stephanie.
Hello, I'm Stephanie, and I'm the oldest daughter. I decided to write my dad a letter for my speech. Hi, Dad. It's me, Stephanie. I miss you a lot, but I know you're in a better place. You raised us girls to be strong, and strong we are. We will take care of Mom like you would want us to do. I know you are proud of us as you are looking down from heaven. Through this tragedy has emerged an overwhelming love that binds this family together and gives us strength. I know that you instilled that philosophy in each of us, and that is what you would be most proud of. What is so hard is that you were my dad, my rock, my advisor, and my strength. I remember so many times when I was unsure, scared, and not knowing what to do. You were the one I went to and knew everything would be okay. And that is what you would tell me. You were there for everything hard in my life. You said this is going to hurt, and it's going to hurt bad, but you'll be okay. And know that as your dad, I'll always be there for you. Those are painful, beautiful moments. I am mourning the loss of my dad, but more than that, you were my person who was always there to explain things I didn't understand. You had a way when things got really bad, you could help me through. You were compassionate, loving, empathetic, kind, trustworthy, and integral. And sometimes you were weird, eccentric, and a little crazy, and now those are some of the things that I miss the most. As I look at the family, I see how all of us sisters are weird, eccentric, and a lot of crazy. But what I see most is our ability to love with everything that we have, and know that was a gift you gave all of us. You will not be forgotten. You live in everyone that was lucky enough to know the brilliant man you were, the man I call Dad, and my kids call Papa. My kids learned a lot from their Papa. Carson plays the saxophone because of his Papa. Hunter was your sidekick when it came to projects and inventions. Ariana has your drive and ambition to succeed and surpass the standard. I know that she made you so proud every time she became more independent and achieved tough goals. Dad, you will always be a part of me, my kids, and our family. I wish that one more time I could hear your voice or feel your hug, and I will always miss you. You are my dad, my kids' Papa, and you will forever be a part of me. I love you, Dad.
And now we have David Walton coming to give his speech, Lyle's brother-in-law.
Well, I'm Shelley's brother, and she asked me to share some stories about Lyle. And I've known Lyle over 40 years, and I'm like, wow, I got so many stories, I don't know where to begin. Then I was told I could only share for 5 minutes. It's not going to happen. So I know there's many examples of Lyle, his good heart, how he loved people and family, and his courage and determination. No one had more determination than Lyle. Nobody. So I thought I'd share a story that sums up Lyle's determination and his resolve. And this story, I love this story. It's a great story. But my dad and I used to hunt in Teanaway. It's over in eastern Washington. And we'd go hunt and we'd come back and we'd have this great, weekend warrior man thing. And Lyle asked if he could come with us. And we're like, yeah, that'd be great, Lyle. Why don't you come up hunting with us? It'll be so much fun. So we bring Lyle hunting with us, and we go hunting. And for 3 years in a row, Lyle has to help me drag a deer off the mountain, take it home. So on year number three, I shoot this deer. We're way up in the mountains. It's probably 3-4 feet of snow. And I signaled for Lyle to come help Dave carry the deer down the mountain. And I see him coming up the hill, and he's like it takes all day to get a deer down. So he's like, how big is it this year? I said, Lyle, it's bigger than last year. And I see him just go, and we get up there, and I had kind of made a joke of it because my first shot at this deer, I'd shot the antler off. And then the second shot, I got it. And while I was waiting for Lyle to come, I had taped one antler on top of the other, so it looked like a mammoth Godzilla deer. And so when he came up and he saw the deer, he's like, for 5 minutes, he didn't move. And finally, I started laughing, and then he walked over there, and he thought it was the funniest thing he ever saw. But one whole day of getting that deer down to our main camp, and it wasn't really fair for Lyle because when you hunt for a weekend, it's one whole day carrying Dave's deer down in the mountain. You don't have time to get a deer. And so we're getting ready to pack up. My dad, he's like, let's get everything packed up. And this is where Lyle's determination comes in. Tell Shelley I'm not coming home until I get a deer. And we're like, what? Tell Shelley I'm not coming home until I get a deer. So we left. We left him up in the trailer. He had just his little Toyota truck. You guys remember his Toyota truck? He had his little Toyota truck, and we went home. And I believe Dad called Shelley because I didn't want to. And Lyle is up in the mountains, in the trailer, base camp, all by himself. And as luck would have it, or not have it, a huge storm came in that week. Lyle is snowed in up at Tianaway in the mountains by himself in a little trailer. Well, what would most people do in this situation? They'd stay in the trailer, try to stay warm, and hope that someone would come and save them. Not Lyle. While everybody is snowed in, they can't get out, he doesn't stay in his trailer. He goes up in the mountains, 3 or 4 feet of snow, and he's hunting a deer. Well, guess what? He shot a deer. And guess what? He got it off the mountain all by himself. And guess what? He loaded it in that little Toyota truck. And what else he did is he dug himself all the way out, right to the main road with his deer. It's like, that's determination. That is grit. And that's courage. And that's what Lyle did. But is that the end of the story? No, not the end of the story. As Lyle, he must have damaged his truck trying to get down to the main road. And as he's driving over the pass, the rear end of his truck is damaged and the axle starts coming out of the truck. He's just over the pass where those tunnels are, and the back tire comes off the truck slides off the road, the gas tank ruptures, and the truck's on fire. Fortunately for Lyle, or unfortunately for Lyle, there was a state patrol watching this behind him, the whole thing with the tire and everything. Lyle comes up to the top of the road, and the officer's already calling for emergency, and Lyle realizes, my precious cargo is still in the back of my truck. So the officer, he's called for help. He sees Lyle, and he sees Lyle going back down to the truck, and he's like, is there a person still in the truck? Is your dog in the cab? What's going on? No, I'm getting my deer. And the officer's like, no, you're not. You're not going to risk your life for deer. Yes, I am. And Lyle went and got that crispy critter, and he brought it up to the top of the road. And I'm not sure how he got it home, but he got this deer home. I don't know if he called a cab or what, but he got the deer home. And the funny thing about this is, it was a nice rack. It was like a 4-point, he brought me over, I saw it, and I thought, Lyle, you're supposed to skin it before you cook it, but he had the deer, and he had cut the head off, and he had stuck it on top of this truck he had, and for 2 weeks, he drove around with his deer head on top of his truck. Matter of fact, my mom called me and she goes, "You will never guess who came and visited me at school." I'm like, "No, who was it?" He goes, "It was Lyle, and he had a deer head, and all the kids came out to see it." And she goes, "Boy, did it stink." Well, the reason that Lyle had that deer head on top of his truck it wasn't that he was bragging like, "Look at this big deer I shot." It was because he had a goal, and the goal was to get a deer. And for him, it was difficult, but he endured and he achieved it. And that was Lyle. If he had a goal, he would do it. And so, Lyle, I love you, and I love that memory. Thanks.
And now we have an audio recording of Madison.
My dad held me as I took my very first breath, and I held him in my arms till his very last. A lot of us right now have wishes for what we could have done before he died. If I did this or said that, maybe I could have saved his life. But I would like everyone here to know and remember that my mom, my sisters, everyone who knew and loved him, and even those who just knew of him, we saved his life every single day. That's the thing with having bipolar. For those who have it, every single day is a victory. My dad had a rough life. Despite that, along with many other challenges, he leaves behind an amazing legacy. So amazing that me as his daughter still can't even begin to comprehend its extent. He was faced with all odds against him, and I'm incredibly lucky he was there to be my dad. For 21 years, 252 months, 1,095 weeks, 7,765 days, I was his angel. And from here on, he is mine. I've had the privilege of experiencing things most people never get to see in their entire lifetime. My dad gifted me this life. Better than that, he gifted me with a world filled with love. He was always there, and he still is. He sits in heaven watching us every day. I hear his voice and his laugh. I see that beer belly and those wrinkly hands. I smell his cigars and the grease he always wore from working on cars. I feel his presence and his overwhelming love. From this moment on, I know with every breath I take, I will take one for him. One day, I will meet him in heaven, and the first thing I'll greet him with is the song he wrote for me as a baby. I will forever be his blue eyes. I will never forget what he said to me one day. He said, "Maddie, one day when my inventions make it big, there's going to be people in this world who will want to take advantage of that." He believed in his dreams. He said, "There will come a day where you will face two of me. I will have a clone as my disguise against the world. And the only way you will know for sure that it is me is by this secret code word. From this, I learned there is good and there is bad in this world. There are good spirits and there are bad spirits. I will meet my dad again, in the form of what's good. Dad, I can't wait to meet your spirit one day. I can't wait to meet that clone spirit and roast him with that code word." A couple years ago, I was in a car accident that should have killed me. It's hard to believe that I could have survived, but for some reason I did. I had been knocked unconscious, and the second I woke up, my dad was right there by my side. He told me, "It is going to be okay. Just breathe. It will all be okay." And it was all okay. Fast forward to a week ago. I was now by his side, holding him, saying the exact same words he had said to me. "It's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. Stay with me, Dad. Breathe. And it wasn't okay. It's not okay. But one day it will be. Everyone knows that day I was saved by an angel. Every day since my dad died, all I could think about was why. Why I lived and he didn't. I lived because my dad was that angel. I believe he was born into this world with a purpose of being my angel. That day, by his side, I was trying with everything I had just to be his angel, wishing so bad that he would just breathe for me. But he didn't need me to be his angel. All he needed was to be mine. Even though he's gone, he will always be there with me because I am half of him. And with that other half, made up of him, I will get to be my children's angel. And I will tell them all the stories of their guardian angel, their papa. My dad still lives in all of us.
Now Rachel will be coming to sing a song for us.
We're going to have a small change in the schedule. We're not going to be singing Mansion Over the Hilltop. We'll be actually singing Amazing Grace. And the red book in front of you, will you mind picking that up and turning to page 336? And we're going to sing all 5 verses. Please stand. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now
thank God that we serve a God of grace and mercy. Because there's no one righteous, right? There's not one. What a great example of your family. Shelley, you and Lyle. Amazing. The girls, the different personalities, and oh, how they love. What a great testimony to you and Lyle. There's a passage of Scripture I'd like to read that will give us some insight into how Jesus intimately knows us. Psalms 139. Do you have any Kleenex? O Lord, you have examined my heart, and you know everything about me. You know me when I sit down and when I stand up. You know my thoughts even when I'm far away. You see me when I travel and when I rest at home. You know everything I do. You know what I am going to say even before I say it, Lord. You go before me and follow me. You place your hands of blessings on my head. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too great for me to understand. I can never escape from your spirit. I can never get away from your presence. If I go up to heaven, you are there. If I go down to the grave, you are there. If I ride on the wings of the morning, if I dwell in the farthest oceans, even your hand will guide me, and your strength will support me. I could ask the darkness to hide me and the light around me to become night, but even in the darkness I cannot hide from you. To you, the night shines as bright as the day. Darkness and light are the same to you. You made all the delicate inner parts of my body, and you knit me together in my mother's womb. Thank you for making me so wonderfully complex. Your workmanship is marvelous. How well I know it. You watched me as I was being formed in utter seclusion. As I was woven together in the dark of the womb, you saw me before I was even born. Every day my life was recorded in your book. Every moment was laid out before a single day had passed. How precious are your thoughts about me, O God. They cannot be numbered. I can't even count them. They outnumber the grains of sand. When I wake, you were still with me. A few months ago, I had the awesome privilege to sit down with Lyle at church. And what Lyle shared with me at that time, I didn't understand, but he shared with me some of the things that he was, what he was going through. And as we sat there and prayed and cried together, one thing became very clear to me. That relationship that Lyle had with Jesus Christ was real and personal. I am confident now, whether you are accepted into heaven has nothing to do with the way you die. How we die does not determine whether we go into heaven or not. What determines that is our relationship with Jesus Christ. There's this great website, godsgotthis.org. Godsgotthis.org. I'm going to read a little quote from there. You were not designed to battle depression and mental illness alone. You need people. And people need you. Your life is worth fighting for. And your journey is not over. And the deep, overwhelming pain you are feeling, it won't last forever. Your life has a divine purpose, and there are more people cheering you on than you realize. The world needs you, your family needs you, and your future needs you. We are spiritual beings, and we are living in physical bodies. Our spirits live forever. Lyle's not here with us today, but he is not dead. Lyle's life made an impact on us. He made an impact on a fantastic family. Jesus loves us, he knows us, and he desires a love relationship with us that is alive and personal and real. All we have to do is ask for Jesus' involvement in our life, for Jesus to come be part of our lives. Today, if you're struggling, I know there's a family that has some experience and would love to talk to you. We would love to talk to you. And if any of you are struggling, just tap one of us on the shoulder, and we would love to talk to you. Let's all stand as we pray. Father, we are so thankful for your love for us, and that you are a God of grace and mercy, and that there is nothing that we can do to be right, to be perfect, but you sent your son Jesus, and because of what he did for us, all we have to say is, Jesus, be part of my life. That very thing that Lyle did is that he asked you into his life, and the legacy he leaves behind will be something that goes on for generations to come. That love, the love of life, the inventiveness, and the family that will carry this on, that you would give them witty plans and witty ideas, and Father, that they will continue on the gifts that you have given Lyle. So today we celebrate Lyle for the impact that he has made here and represented here. So we give you the praise and glory in your name. Amen.